You know what's interesting? I was looking through my phone, right? And I'm looking for interesting doctors I can have a conversation with and ask all these crazy questions about I have about the medical business and all that. And I go through my screen. I'm like, oh, that guy must be interesting. I could talk to him. And then I come across Ibn Sina.
Uh-huh.
And then I was like, oh, I remember a doctor, a surgeon who actually looks like Ibn Sina. Ibn Sina, who, for those of you who don't know, he was like the medical pioneer. And, he wrote the Al-Qanon. You about to say something?
Yeah, no, I was thinking that probably you were just going through ABC order and us that showed up first. So
No. So you literally look like Ibn Sina.
you ever seen him?
Well, haven't you seen his pictures, like his sketches? If you go on
I
Google,
don't know if those are real sketches. I mean, I think they're just
I'm hoping you know who he is.
some. I know who haven't seen him. I'm just saying it's probably like some sort of artist rendition. They don't actually know what he looked like.
But okay, so the reason why I reached out to you is because, like Ibn Sina, I seriously think you kind of have his spirit because not only you are at the top of the food chain in terms of medical science, you're a surgeon, like you're legit. Nothing tops that in that medical industry, right?
Sure.
Credentials wise, right? And the
Yes.
second thing
Ego.
is, yeah. Second thing is, you have a huge philanthropic. Did I say it right? Philanthropic side.
Philanthropic. Yeah,
Yeah,
philanthropic.
yeah. So you have a huge philanthropic side, and I don't mean like just ideologically. You're practically committed to certain programs which require you to dedicate your skill set, your life towards serving humanity. So,
Oh yeah.
which naturally puts you in that space where I want some leadership from the medical industry. Where have we gone wrong? How can we bring us back on track? And for the new upcoming doctors, surgeons who want to enter the medical space, how can you lead them towards spiritual medicine and in the right direction?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a
Go.
lot of parts in that question. All right. Well, let's start with where are we right now? I think a part of the problem of what's going on, and I guess to timestamp sort of things right now, we're in the midst of the COVID crisis. So for future viewers, this is the middle of the COVID crisis. I'm a general surgery resident in my last year of training here in upstate New York. So things are a little bit crazier. New York City is sort of like the epicenter, and then New York State a little bit broader than that, and the United States in general sort of become now the epicenter of things. So
But wait, you're a surgeon, so why are you still working?
how am I still? So with general surgery training and general surgery, we operate as much as we can. Amidst the crisis, we're not doing any sort of elective surgeries at all. So that part of training is basically, on standstill, on hold.
Mhm.
But the goal right now is to just take care of these very sick patients in the critical care setting in the ICU. That's like our job is to basically stabilize them. In my particular setting, our job is to stabilize them in the ICU, do all the special procedures that they need, and then the medical ICU doctors sort of manage the day to day.
So they're even employing the surgeons to do the other type of COVID services.
Exactly, yeah. So
Okay.
we have our own like COVID service because it's too much. It's too many patients for a single ICU service to deal with.
Okay.
So for instance, our hospital has maybe 40 ventilators, out of which 20 are being utilized. Let's say, that's very atypical. The ICU unit itself only has 14 beds, so that's a lot of spillover that they're not used to having that kind of volume. So we're helping out managing those patients too.
So here's one question. I kind of look at the medical professionals, and part of me commends them for the work you guys are doing. And then there's the other part of me that questions the business side of things.
Yeah.
And you are in the space, and I see you as an unbiased person because you're really, you're going for the not-profit side as well. So you have that huge other side. So I want your view on is it evil, or is it partially evil, or it's not evil at all, or it's just business driven? What's going on in the back scenes? Like, what's
Yeah.
the business like?
Nothing is 100% evil.
Mhm.
I would say the more you have business involved, the more you have these vested interests, big pharma, these big hospital networks now. Obviously, there's going to be this push for generating more revenue.
Mhm.
So when you start monetizing people being sick, then therein is sort of like your problem. Now, the other side of things is there is a major driver with education itself costing a lot. Let's say from my perspective, to do medicine requires, you do high school, then you do 4 years of college or 3 years of college, however long it takes to get your bachelor's degree. You go into medical school. Medical school is typically 4 years. So you've accumulated a lot of debt along the way. So you have to be able to support people's salaries, and the fact that they have that much debt as well. And that's just the physician side. And there's so many other staff. Nursing has their own, personal issues or debt there. So every single part has that. So you have to have a certain salary. So, if from my perspective, if medicine, that is the study of medicine, didn't cost anything, let's say it was completely free, then that would de-incentivize, or you'd have less people who are going into it for the money. That'd be one part of things too. But you wouldn't have to have these very, very large salaries that people necessarily need in some instances to just pay off their debt, and then also have a certain lifestyle that they want to. Is it completely evil? No. I think, again, if you have all these different interests in it and it's big business, then things are going to go a little bit awry, like they do in everything else.
So for all these young people who want to enter in that space and become a doctor, how can they pursue it without becoming kind of like overly controlled by the big pharma, by the big medical industry? How can they practice the Ibn Sina spiritual medicine? Does that even exist? Is there a possibility of doing that? And if so, how?
Medicine's such a wide field. It's hard to, one, I don't know if that still exists. I don't know if you can do that in this country. I think if you were in a country that had universal health care, you'd be having a different discussion. One, their salaries would be less, but two, that you're sort of like you're capped and you're all sort of in the same system. There's not competing this hospital versus that hospital, or my private practice versus your private practice. So you take out all that kind of stuff. In a situation like we have here, I don't know if that's possible. As a surgeon, let's say I'm going to be a part of a private practice or be a part of a hospital, which is the most common thing. You become a salaried physician of a hospital or of a group. And so the procedures that you do, command a certain salary, but the procedures that you do also cause the hospital to get revenue and also cause, all these other things to happen simultaneously. So if you're a part of that system, then your salary is going to be a part of that system as well. Mm-hmm. And the hospital system makes money off of that. And, big pharma also makes money off of that too. Mm-hmm. So I don't think there's a way that you could do everything pro bono either. Like if I wanted to just do pro bono stuff, you wouldn't have a job here. It's not like possible to practice that way here.
But I kind of like the balance where you've headed, right? Because I feel like maybe that's the answer, because you've got you're doing your full-time job, and then at some point you're going to be associated with a program where you're voluntarily helping out at people in terms of
yeah, a lot of people go into medicine, and a lot of medical students that we talk with and we mentor along the way. Everybody ideally wants to go into medicine for the right reasons, to help people. How that usually manifests is that when you're in medical school training or even residency, you do like free clinics and that kind of stuff. And people have this idea that, when I finish my training, then I'm going to do pro bono work and I'm going to travel abroad and do, little stints here and there. Some specialties, again, medicine is very wide. Some specialties are more conducive to going for a short period of time and helping. Certainly, if there's a disaster going on, there are lots of nonprofits that you can join with. Certainly, emergency medicine, primary care, in terms of a disaster, is very, very important. But in terms of like my personal thing, like I do plan on, once I finish residency, to at least devote some period of time. Realistically, how that manifests, it's hard to find a job that'll allow you a week, 2 weeks, a month stint on a yearly basis or bi-yearly basis that you can go and do pro bono work. So you have to search for something like that. So I think the problem is people go in with that mindset. They have the right intention, but they find the system over here is not conducive to doing that. That is, if you're out of the workforce and you're not producing, then no hospital is going to want to hire you if you're going to be gone for a month of the year. Right. So you have to I mean, be pretty savvy and know how you're going to work it into a contract if you're going to work for a hospital. Obviously, if you're doing private practice and you're your own boss, you can do that. But then again, you have to pay everybody's salaries who's underneath you.
Well, so
So
how much freedom do you have in the medical industry to like issue your drugs or like whatever you want to, like let's say if there's a particular medicine that you think is better for a customer a not customer but patient
customers
customer,
good
yeah.
word.
So do you have the freedom or a hospital controls in terms of what you give to the patients?
Good question. Depending on the hospital network, you might have different medications on your formulary. So you might have similar medications, but your hospital has X, Y, and Z medication, which is, sort of a generic of a medication that somebody else, would have somewhere else. So you do have some discretion.
Let me even like double it. Let me even add this to it. Let's say, for example, there's a particular fruit or a vegetable
Uh-huh.
which you knew cures certain diseases, and then you had this pharma medicine that
Yeah.
handles the issue but has side effects. You as a
Yeah.
doctor, are you allowed to tell the customer or the patient that, hey, eat this fruit and vegetables, you don't really need this medicine, or with the hospital
Yeah.
tell you, okay.
Uh, in so there's multiple facets. Surgery, is one of those things where there's a part of the practice which is in the hospital. There's a part of the practice which is outside the hospital in the clinic setting. So certainly in the clinic setting, these are conversations that you have with patients, and you can describe these other herbal remedies if you feel like they are going to work. Then yeah, you can certainly do. You have the freedom to, in your best medical opinion, give advice and recommend things. In the hospital, it's a little bit more difficult. But again, from a surgery side, it's like we have very particular, things that we do. So
Mm.
it's not like a general medicine sort of thing. Like,
But
oh,
the
you have.
hospital decides on the options you can offer.
That's true. Patients can bring their own medications in as well, and you can give them. You have to dispense it then
Mm-hmm.
for if they are very particular with what they want to take. But yeah, the hospital will dictate what you have in the hospital dictates, what is on the formulary, what medications they have.
Well, I guess it's not that bad then. I mean, if you have the freedom to give alternative options as well or discuss alternative options, then it's not so bad.
No, I mean, surgery and in general, any procedure that you're going to do, you always talk about risks and complications and alternatives. That's a part of obtaining somebody's consent or permission to do anything. And
Mm.
in general, if you're treating somebody in the clinic too, that's also what you're doing. The goal in medicine now, and I feel like we're making strides towards that, is educating patients. Patients are getting a lot of education from a lot of different resources too, from the internet, etc. So you have to educate them properly, and then give them options, and then ultimately, there's a concept that patients have the right to choose what kind of therapy they want, what kind of treatment they want.
Yeah. Now, last question I have is for people, and obviously a part of that question is if somebody wants to become a doctor at a later age, and maybe they studied something else, maybe they studied English as a major, and now they just got out of school with a bachelor's or master's degree. Is it still possible to become a doctor at a later age? And if so, what's the process like? How did you go through it? How can you help poor people kind of lead them into this career? Is it a good one? What would you recommend the goods and bads of it?
Yeah, it's certainly possible, and it's done more and more often now. I think the traditional route, which was you go through undergraduate education, you go straight into medical school, that paradigm has shifted a lot. I would say probably the majority of people take some time between undergraduate, a year or 2 years, go into the workforce, and then do medicine after that. Now, if somebody hasn't studied anything that relates to the things that are required for medicine, so like the things that are typical are the sciences, somebody majors in biology or chemistry or biochemistry, things like that. Uh, so there are prerequisite things that you need for medical school. Now, if you haven't done those things, then usually there are these what they're called post-baccalaureate programs. So there are different colleges across the country that have linkages as well with medical schools for these non-traditional applicants. What is becoming non-traditional, but non-traditional applicants that haven't studied any of the sciences. So if you're an English major, you finished your bachelor's 5 years ago, you want to do medicine now, you'd probably seek out these programs. And then those are usually accelerated courses. You have to apply into them first, explain why you're interested, you should have good scores in any case, even in your whatever you did for your undergrad. And then you go into these post baccalaureate programs. They teach you the requisite or the prerequisites for medical school, like biology, chemistry, calculus, etc. You take your entrance examinations for medical school, and then you apply in. You can go through their own language program, or you can apply to other medical schools depending on how good of an applicant you
So
are.
whatever age point you start at, from that point onwards, how much of a time dedication is it?
Sure. So let's say you were to get into medical school today. Medical school is typically 4 years if you do some additional research, but let's say the minimum is 4 years. And then after that, you have to do residency training, which is, you have to do basically on-hands training outside of medical school. At minimum, that's 3 years to complete any sort of thing. So things like general internal medicine, family medicine, pediatrics, emergency medicine, those are 3 year long. Things like radiology, surgery, any of the surgical specialties are 5 years or longer, 5, 6, 7 years. So
And
usually they have 7 years of research.
and how much of a college loan should one expect coming out with?
Yeah, so I would say undergraduate education still is probably, if you go to a private school and you don't have any grants or scholarships, let's say it's 30, 40, 50.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say 30 grand a year
Mm.
for undergrad. So times 420. Let's say you get that for undergraduate. And then medical school, when I was going through, which is about almost started in 2010, was about 45, 50 grand a year, which I'm assuming is going to be more now. It's probably 55, 60 grand, if not more. So you're
Wow.
talking probably for medical school, you're accumulating another 250, 200 to 250. That's just straight up the tuition. You're not talking about, room and housing and boarding and all those kind of things that.
Wow. Wow.
So,
Wow.
so it's a big problem. You don't allow these new physicians that are coming out to have a lot of freedom.
Suddenly I have sympathy for you guys because now I understand, like, if you are, okay, so you guys are like heavily financially controlled and under a lot of pressure. Okay, okay, I understand what's happening now.
So, and then you talk about these whole philosophical things. People go into medicine and they have this idea of what a doctor should live like. Your spouse or your significant other has an idea of what their lifestyle should be like. Society itself has an idea of how a physician should be. So there's all these things that go along with that. So they don't know behind the scenes that you've accumulated $300,000, $400,000 in debt. It's already like you came out, with a mortgage, and then you get another mortgage because you're expected to have like a big house and a big car and this kind of stuff. So if people get stuck into that, I mean, they're basically enslaved for many, many years. I mean, there are when somebody finishes residency, they become an attending, like they're a complete doctor, let's say. There are attendings now in their 50s and 60s that are still paying off their loans.
Wow, this has been more of a depressing show. I didn't expect it to be so depressing. But last question I wanted to ask is, okay, so if somebody wants to serve human beings, heal them, help
Yeah.
them, and doesn't want a freaking $400,000 loan, what's the smart advice you'd have for that poor guy to be part of the medical industry in a smart way without accumulating such a loan and make an income as well?
I think a lot of people. There's also a prestige thing for medicine, so people naturally, and depending on where you're from culturally, I feel like Asia and I would say basically everybody's like, yeah, somebody's a doctor. There's a prestige associated with that. So that is one of the drivers, and then there's this whole financial thing that's also a driver for people. But if the driver is truly just I want to help people, then there are certainly things like becoming a physician's assistant or doing nursing and then doing nurse practitioner. And there are a lot of other ancillary things that are required in any hospital setting. But those are the two, being a PA or being a nurse practitioner or a nurse, that to me, that you basically are doing all the hands-on stuff that physicians are doing. A lot of places in the country you can practice on your own as well, or under some sort of supervision, which is not that well supervised either. So you're basically on your own in a lot of places too, and you're doing all the things that a physician would do. But again, you haven't accumulated that level of debt, and medicine is it's also very taxing in terms of the study of it too. So it's a little bit less intense than that, but you can still contribute in that way.
Asad, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to me. I know you are such a busy person and you're a surgeon. You're probably being on call all the time, but I really appreciate you taking the time out. And more than what you're doing and what you've done, I am really looking forward to what you're going to do in the future because I can see what Ibn Sina is going to be. What the changes he's going to bring in the world are going to be amazing. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks so much for having me.